So I'll pass on my knowledge that I have gleaned the hard way by figuring it out. These are all stonehead cabbages. Okay, I'm going to experiment because I don't really know the answer to this question. I remember planting 2 or 3, and I think that 2 worked better than 3, so we're going to try that. Ideally, I would probably have 1 cabbage per pot. And we'll see. If I decide that that's the ideally, then next year we'll do ideally. I don't know. Do we ever do ideally? I don't know. Good question. Sometimes we manage to do ideally. We did really well on tomatoes last year. And obviously, Henry, as you're watching this, you can easily eliminate 99% of this chatter by simply putting music over the top of it. My dog has melted. Oh dear. He has very large amounts of faith that I won't step on him. He could probably do with a little bit more caution on that front, but oh well. Yay! Everything's planted. Okay. Now, everything that was planted today, I'm not going to fertilize for about, see, today is Saturday. I will not fertilize for probably 4 or 5 days at least, depending on how they look. If everybody looks totally perky and wonderful in 4 or 5 days, I will give them a very lightweight solution of 20-20-20 plus a little micro boost, which gives all the minerals and things that a plant could possibly need. This soil has been used before. It has been cleaned up. It's been refreshed. Everything that's these pots here were all used for something in the nightshade family. So it was either tomatoes or it was husk cherries. So there shouldn't be any residual diseases or anything that could slop back and forth, especially since most of these guys are brassicas, with the exception of the lettuces and stuff. So I am now just going to water these in well. The plants that have been planted out here for a while, the radishes, the seaside spinach, and the pteric, kohlrabi, I am going to give some micro boost in 2020-22. And the way I do that is I simply take a watering can. I put a tablespoon or 2 of micro boost in the bottom of it. And I throw a little bit, again, we're spoon feeding here. We're not trying to keep them stocked for the entire summer. I'll throw maybe a tablespoon or 2 of 20-20-20 in there. Fill a watering can up to the top. That process of filling it mixes everything together beautifully, and simply water them. I don't worry about whether I'm top watering or anything else at this point, because that specific type of fertilizer will work for either regular root feeding or foliar feeding. Foliar feeding simply means when you are pouring the solution over the top, gets on the leaves, it is absorbed locally by the leaves and gets used by the plant. So, hope you didn't mind me wandering around out here today and fumbling around a little bit. I think that Mr. Rufus is getting a bit of a nap at this point. He doesn't even hardly wiggle, so I think it's warm in here, and that's what he's really enjoying, because the house is a bit cooler. So he sort of splatted out like a frog. But, yeah. So be sure to come back, because obviously we have lots going on, and I'll do a replay on this in about a week or so and let everybody know how things are going. Micro boost. 20-20-20 by Haas. It's the same thing as Miracle Grow. Ah, out of there, out of there. Chill, dude. So these are the plants that were planted a long time ago. And this is a combination of fertilizer and micro boost. And one of the things that I found out from doing research is that spinach in particularly is very sensitive to boron deficiencies. And there's been a couple of times when everything was going along fine and then all of a sudden it sort of stalled. And the micro boost, you can usually see it pick up within a day. So, yeah. There we go. Done. Okay, dude. Mr. Doodalicious. Have a ton of things in the works. I mentioned the other day I was able to pick up some acrylic paints because mine are currently buried in a craft pile. So I have some banners and flags and all kinds of other stuff to make, and I'm using them for a business, but the kind of information that I've pulled together over the years is perfectly great for people who like to put flags in their front yards. When I was a kid in church and stuff like that, we used to do banners for the church, decorative ones for specific holidays during the church calendar, all kinds of stuff. So there's lots and lots of things that these can be used for both personal, business, private use, whatever the heck. It's just a lot of fun. So I'll pass on my knowledge that I have gleaned over the hard way by figuring it out. So until next time, sometimes things don't go exactly as planned. Hi again, this is Irene with BrainStormAcres out in the greenhouse. And I came out here earlier today with Rufus to water the plants. And what I discovered was that someone in here came in here last night and had some tasty tidbits to eat. And they included pak choy and cauliflower, more pak choy, stonehead cabbage, green magic broccoli, more stonehead cabbage, a couple of tiara cabbages. What's interesting is that we have not had any rodents in here this year so far. Obviously that's over now. We have two locations that we have previously had them come in. One is a little hole over there, which we have, the first thing I did was check to see if it was still stuffed. It's stuffed with tinfoil. No problem. So then I went back to another location that I have seen stuff get in before, and yeah, it's by the front door. What I'm going to do is, I did water these thoroughly. The reason I know we haven't had problems before last night was because the radishes and spinach and everything else has been just fine the whole time. And they did chew off 2 of the kohlrabis last night. Apparently they didn't like them. They just bit them off and left them. This one they chewed the top off of, so that one will come back. But they really, really, really like some of the cabbages and some of the, like the stonehead, the tiara. Like I said, they got a cauliflower. They got a couple of broccolis. But their very favorite is definitely the pak choy, I would say. Fortunately, although they damaged some of the plants very badly, they did leave others alone. So the ones that are very badly damaged may not come back. The ones that are just sort of slightly chomped on will probably come back okay. I will probably replant a couple of pak choy this week. Just rip out the little stems. I mean, there's nothing left. There's just a little nub of stem above the ground. I'll replace those. But what I'm going to do tonight is a couple things. I am going to set some traps inside and probably a couple outside. Now the ones I'm going to set outside are the A24s, which are CO2 powered traps that basically just bonk their brains out. And it's a quick oops, you're here, oops, you're not there sort of thing. The ones I'm going to set in here are actually going to be regular old-fashioned rat traps. I found a squishy apple in the kitchen, and just, it had gotten mealy. So I've got a couple of these set with apple, and that's what I'm going to do, because other than that, the stuff is doing great. Nothing is wilted anymore. Everything has settled in nicely. The things that didn't get chomped honestly look like they've already grown a half an inch. Everybody's happy, except for the things that got chomped. The radishes and the spinach and the kohlrabi, which did get fertilizer yesterday, looked pretty darn happy to start with, except for the ones who obviously got eaten last night. But they're looking twice as good now. So the problem is rodents. In the past, we've had, like I say, there's just 2 locations they come in, except for the one time that we screwed up and managed to leave the front door open. Yeah. And that time we lost an entire big pile of stuff to squirrel. I'm 99% sure it was a squirrel, because he came in, had a wonderful time, and left. And with all the beets in his stomach. So that's what I'm going to do. As you can tell, it's warm in here. Fans are already starting to run. I've already started changing the fans up a little bit. I don't have the south fan running, but I may need to start doing that. I charged up my thermometer, my remote thermometer yesterday, and it won't even stay connected sitting next to itself. So I'm going to take this back in the house, see if I can reconnect it again. It's very annoying. I'm not sure what it is. I expect it's a couple of years old, so, you know, it's probably just doing what things that are a couple of years old do, like dying. Anyway, so I'm going to set a couple of rodent traps in here first. It was interesting because these things are on the ground here, but all the damage was done up in here. So I'm actually going to set a couple of rat traps right down here, as if somebody does get in tonight, they'll think this is a cool place to go check out things. I'm hoping no one will, because I'm actually planning to block that hole. And if that doesn't work, then we'll figure out where other holes could be, because to my knowledge, that's the only hole we have. There's a section right over here that's something, and I thought it was a rabbit at the time, and it may have been, or it could have been a squirrel. Squirrels are our biggest problem here, aside from rats. There's a hole right on the edge of the greenhouse there, and I previously had covered it up and then put a piece of flagstone on it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll also get a couple of up-close shots of some of the plants that have been munched. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. I am not a happy camper. It is not the end of the world. Oh, there's something running around over here. Hi, spider. There's a happy spider over here. I'm going to leave you alone, because you're a happy spider. And that way, if some little critter comes along, you can eat it. But it happens. We are always conscientious in terms of latching doors and making sure the little holes that are in the greenhouse stay plugged. But and the door there, which does have plastic on it, also has hardware cloth on it. So any larger rodents would not be able to get through the hardware cloth. And that's a 1/2-inch hardware cloth. So, you know, that does a pretty good job on most everything. But I've got one more rat trap to set in here. Then I'm going to set up the other ones outside. Now, the nice thing about these guys is you don't have to do anything. They're already set. They've got their CO2 canister. They've got bait in there that tastes like peanut butter. And you just literally set them in place. Oh, I managed to choose an incomplete rat trap. Okay, I'll have to fix that. But I got 2 of them set up for now. I don't think I have any loose rat traps in here, because there's no purpose in leaving them out here. I made Henry keep the dog because I don't want him, in his curiosity, sticking his nose in a rat trap. So, yeah, more drama. I'll let you know tomorrow whether we have any luck with these little beggars. One way or another. If I manage to lock them out, that's just fine. If I manage to smash their little heads with a rat trap or a mouse trap, that's fine too. You have to be a little hard-hearted when it comes to this kind of thing, unless you just totally don't care. And that's just not the way we do things here. We do care. There is a reason for growing these things, and it's because we want to eat good, clean food, that we know how it's been grown, we know what it's been fed, we know how it's been handled. We always joke that when we have lettuce and spinach, we never have recalls, because if we did, it would mean our own hands were dirty. And somehow we left it. Because, if your hands are dirty, unless they've got something really awful on them, if you were to prepare food with it and eat it immediately, you probably wouldn't get sick. It's the fact that a product gets washed, it's still damp, it's handled by either equipment that's dirty or hands that are dirty, it's bagged, still damp, and then it sits there for a week or two before you eat it. And it's that time where it sort of has time for things to grow that gets you into trouble. So wish us luck, and we'll be back with more information. So until then, bye. And don't forget to keep brainstorming, because obviously we do.